Hey viewers, welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Bckwrdbbq, and today we're going to be looking at Lost. So let's go down the rabbit hole. Most of the men came in to audition for Sawyer because most of the parts weren't written yet. Most of the women read for Kate Austen. Ian Somerhalder was actually the first actor cast and the first main character to be killed off. There were a lot of plot lines that were changed over the course of the series. Jack, originally played by Michael Keaton, was supposed to die during the pilot. Locke's backstory was created because Terry O'Quinn, during his breaks, would sit on the beach and listen to his iPod. Damon Lindelof said that guy has a secret. And J.J. Abrams said, well, you figure it out. Nikki and Paolo were supposed to have a multi-season plotline, but they were so disliked by fans that they were killed off quickly and given a single backflash episode. Ilana was intended to be Jacob's daughter, but it was determined that there was not enough screen time to develop her character enough, so they killed her off instead.
That thing is evil, and God help us if it ever leaves this island. Because if it...
Pierre Chang's aliases in the Dharma films are
Dr. Marvin Candle, Dr. Mark Wickman, Dr. Edgar Haliwax.
For purposes of security, please do not divulge my name to any outside parties. I will not have to resort to using an alias.
None of the actors were in every single episode. Jack was only in 113 out of 121 episodes. Damon Lindelof, one of the producers, actually stole the hatch door after production and used it as a coffee table. Lloyd Braun, the current president of ABC, wanted to make a series he described as Castaway the Series. After trying it out for a while under the title Nowhere, he finally brought in J.J. Abrams, who helped develop a pitch in about 5 days. They greenlit the series after the 20-minute pitch. Lloyd Braun was then fired for greenlighting such an expensive series without a script. Lloyd Braun's voice can still be heard at the beginning of each episode.
Previously on Lost.
Hydra Island was actually filmed at Paradise Park, an old botanical and zoological garden. The writers often used code names for the big reveal at the end of each season. The bagel refers to Walt's kidnapping. The Kala referred to Penelope finding the island. The rattlesnake in the mailbox referred to the flash-forward reveal. The frozen donkey wheel referred to Locke in the coffin, not the literal frozen donkey wheel. The fork in the outlet referred to Ben stabbing Jacob. And Sun and Jin's wedding referred to the final church scene. The numbers actually appear in the ABC Studios logo. Producer Damon Lindelof was kind of hoping that the show would not be a hit, it would only run for about 13 episodes and gather a cult following. The composer actually used parts of the wreckage to create the score. The use of flashbacks was developed as a way to slow down the pacing of the story, as well as create multiple storylines that they can fall back on when they run out of ideas. In the middle of season 3, they were basically begging the network to finish the series. They developed the flash forwards as a way to create new narratives and to get people to stop asking if they knew what they were doing. There were 6 reoccurring cast members that were only given full main cast credits during the final episode.
There was a flash flood which came down the hill. There were literally camera cases floating away.
The lights got thrown in, with the ballast, got thrown into a container. The guys just ran and they got it into a container, and the container had flooded during the storm as the storm had continued. So when we got there in the morning, not knowing whether we'd be able to shoot, the gaffer and the electricians were pulling out the lights and looking at the sodden ballast and going, oh. And the gaffer goes, you know, if we were like in Minnesota, we could use those big heaters that they use to keep the football players warm. And then he goes, you know, like they're like dryers. And he goes, hair dryers. And actually Kevin Blank was standing near to me, and I said, Kevin, do you have a credit card on you? And he goes, yes. I said, get in a truck, get in that van over there, tell them to take you to Long's and buy as many hair dryers as you can find. So he rushed off, and he came back, and they put the dryers on the C-stands, and they dried out the ballast, and it worked. So we were shooting within 2 hours.
Many of the character names actually come from famous philosophers. They include Mikhail, Jeremy Bentham, Edmund Burke, Joseph Campbell, Thomas Carlyle, Anthony Cooper, David Hume, Michael Faraday, John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Samuel Rutherford. Charlotte Staples Lewis is partly named after C.S. Lewis, and Maelstrom is a pun on Maelstrom. Lost is full of anagrams, and a lot of times, these anagrams are actually foreshadowing events to come. For example, the funeral parlor is Hovsdraller. This is actually an anagram for flash forward. Ethan Rom is Other Man, and Gary Troop is Purgatory. The video game Lost Via Domus featured a new character who was able to leave the island only to loop back in time to the beginning of the game to reveal that this time his girlfriend was still alive. This then strengthened the idea of whether or not it was possible to alter the past. The game is now considered non-canon.
Stuck for all eternity on a metaphysically incomprehensible island? Tired of the same old White Rock, Black Rock game? Then get ready for Connect 4 Million! Connect 4 Million is the game of strategy that takes centuries to play.
Connect 4 million! Oh!
I will now attempt to answer some of the unanswered questions of Lost. It is important to understand that most all of the questions were answered, if not directly on the show, then indirectly or through the augmented reality experiences. If it was not answered, then it was not important to the 815 story. One of these unanswered questions was who shot at the survivors from the Outrigger in Season 5. They actually had an answer and they thought it was pretty cool, but decided it was more cool just not to answer it. Why did Walt have superpowers? He just did, just like Hurley could see and talk to dead people. In the DVD epilogue, New Man in Charge, Hurley actually recruits Walt to the island.
Let's get out of here. It's time for us all to go home.
What is the island? The island is just an island that sits on a pocket of extreme energy. More specifically, the heart of the island, that extreme energy, is malevolence or pure evil.
The cork is this island. And it's the only thing keeping the darkness where it belongs.
Who is Jacob? Jacob is the protector of the island, or more specifically, the heart of the island. He brings people to the island in order to prove to his brother, the Smoke Monster, that people are not inherently evil. What is the Smoke Monster? The Smoke Monster is the embodiment of true evil. Its ultimate goal is to escape from the island to bring destruction to the world. What was the point? The only question that the creator said would be answered by the end of the series was whether or not it was fate or science. In later seasons, this coincided with Can You Change the Past? By detonating the bomb at the Swan Station, they were attempting to alter the past so that they would never end up on the island in the first place. This appeared to create a second universe where they never crash-landed, rather than changing the future. Were they dead the entire time? No. Jack discovers that he is dead in the second timeline. Jack's father, Christian, said,
"Everything that's ever happened to you is real. Everyone dies sometime, kiddo. Some of them before you, some long after you."
This tells us a few things. First, it tells us that the second timeline is purgatory, not the island. It also tells us that everything that happened on the island actually happened to them. It also tells us that you cannot change history, meaning fate is the reason they ended up together. It also tells us that Hurley, the new protector of the island, lived for a very long time, possibly hundreds or thousands of years.
If you start with any of that whole, the island is a cork thing, I will go nuts.
It's a good metaphor.
Okay, well, we'll see how happy these people are when you explain their whole reason for being here with a metaphor.
You think they'll be disappointed?
They want answers, Jacob, not corks.
Well, maybe they'll give me the benefit of the doubt once they start jumping around in time.
Right, because time travel always helps things make more sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Really? Like picking 6 candidates to replace you because you're sick of being in charge, and you know that I'll inevitably disguise myself as candidate number 4 so I can manipulate Ben Linus into killing you? That kind of sense?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
I do not.
Do too.
Do not.
Do too.
Do not. Do too.
Do not. Do too.
Do not.
It's infinity.
You know what? You've got a bad attitude, Barry.
J.J. Abrams' Mission Impossible 3 has a special thanks credit to the Hanzo Foundation. Dharma also appears to have something to do with the Cloverfield incident, as the logo appears at the beginning of the movie. Lost featured multiple augmented reality games, a series of websites designed to expand the universe within the show. Within these augmented reality websites, we learn things such as Dharma standing for Department of Heuristics and Research on Material Applications. The first augmented reality game, The Lost Experience, contained websites for the Hanzo Foundation and Gary Troop. The Hanzo Foundation was formed by Alvar Hanzo. Alvar Hanzo was the great-grandson of Magnus Hanzo, captain of the Black Rock. The Hanzo family was in possession of the Black Rock Ledger, which was later purchased by Charles Widmore. Alvar started the Dharma Initiative after hearing about the Valenzetti equation. The Valenzetti equation was developed by Enzo Valenzetti. It was funded by the UN to stop the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Valenzetti equation was developed to determine the exact date and time that humanity will destroy itself. The core values of this equation are 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, and 42. The Dharma Initiative was formed in order to change these core values. If they could change these core values, they could control the future. They tried to do this by utilizing the island's bizarre properties. The radio tower was constructed on the island so they could monitor if the values changed. Gary Troop is the man that is sucked into the turbine in the first episode.
This is for the event where Gary Troop goes through the engine.
He is an author who has written the Valenzetti equation and Bad Twin. All rights for the Valenzetti equation were purchased by Alvar Hanzo.
Allegedly, now I emphasize allegedly, Alvar Hanzo bought up all the available copies, and he bought the rights to reprint.
Why would he do that?
Bad Twin is the manuscript that Sawyer finds in his reading on the beach. You can buy this book in real life. While the book is not directly related to the show, Bad Twin reveals that the Hanzo Foundation is located on the 42nd floor of the Widmore building. Some of the other augmented reality experiences are Find 815, which featured the Oceanic Air website, the Dharma Initiative Recruiting Project, Lost University, and Damon Carlton and a Polar Bear. That's it for this episode. Here's a clue about the next episode. Be sure to leave a comment about what you think the episode will be about, and be sure to subscribe so you can find out for sure when I post. Until next time, may the Force be with you.